Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time zone from where you are viewing us from. It is with great delight that I want to welcome you again and joining us as we discuss everything around oil palm as a profitable crop to integrate with the real estate business. Again, my name is Emmanuel Ogbinaka, a consultant of agriculture, precisely soil science and land management, and I'm delighted to be affiliated with the Silvawell Company Limited. Today we are going to be discussing a very interesting topic, but before that, let me appeal to our viewers out there to please do subscribe to all the platform made available to you so that you can get information as regard what we have discussed so far in the course of this session. Before now, we've looked at some important things about this topic. We've discussed the benefit of agro-real estate. We've also discussed the choice of crops to integrate with the real estate business. And in our previous broadcast, we talked about why the oil palm is the right crop to be chosen when it comes with integration. And then we've also taken time to discuss in our previous broadcast about signs of intercropping and some common pests and diseases that affect this crop, oil palm. So these informations are available when you do subscribe and you have access to this information. For today, we're going to be discussing an interesting topic: soil health and fertility management for sustainable agriculture. Soil health and fertility management for sustainable agriculture. Now, this is very important because when we talk about productivity in terms of crop cultivation, then the fertility of the soil and as well as the soil health cannot be overemphasized. Let me state here that the soil could be healthy or sick. The soil could be healthy or sick. A healthy soil is actually the one that contains and provides the required nutrients or elements to plant for growth and healthy development. So if a soil is not healthy, which translates to an infertile soil, it will show in the productivity level of that soil. It will mean that cultivation of crops on such soil may not yield the needed result. And so this is why in Silvawell Limited, the fertility and health of the soil is of paramount interest to us, because we know that a healthy soil will in turn lead to high productivity. So the company does not joke with that. And that is why we are taking time to discuss, or want to discuss this topic, soil health as it affects sustainable agriculture. So a soil could be healthy, a soil could be sick. And I said the healthy soil is the soil that contains, and not just that it contains all the vital nutrients that are required for plant growth, it also provides those required nutrients for plants, for growth and healthy development. Now, for production to be enhanced, for production to be sustained, the fertility of the soil must be maintained. Again, I want to repeat that. For production to be sustained, the fertility of the soil had to be maintained. We have to maintain the health of the soil. No matter how rich a soil is, or no matter how fertile a soil is, the truth is that fertility management is still required, because each time a crop is harvested from the soil, nutrient is removed from the soil. So let's take a case study. When you plant or cultivate a crop in a particular land, as you keep harvesting on monthly, yearly basis, you are reducing the amount of nutrient available in the soil. So each harvest equals to removal of some amount of nutrient from the soil. Hence, the need to talk about a way of replenishing the soil nutrients, and that is what fertility management is all about. This is to ensure that there is sustainability of production. So that is worth nothing. Again, let me state here that there are some basic factors that can impact negatively on soil health or soil fertility. Factors like soil pH. The pH of the soil talks about whether the soil is acidic or whether the soil is alkaline. And the pH of a soil, as I mentioned briefly in our previous broadcast, the pH of a soil impacts tremendously on the productivity of a given crop that is to be planted in an environment. And the oil palm is not an exception. So the pH of the soil affects or impacts negatively on soil health and fertility. So whether the soil is, especially when the soil is acidic, if the soil is highly acidic, that we have impacts negatively on the crop that is being cultivated. So the soil pH is a factor that can affect soil health. Then again, we talk about leaching. Leaching, which has to do with the washing away of the top nutrient from the soil, is another factor that affects the fertility of the soil, or that can impact negatively on soil health. Then we'll talk about burning. Burning is another factor that can impact negatively on soil health. We'll talk about soil texture. Is the soil sandy? Is the soil clay? Is the soil loamy? Now, the texture of the soil also affects the fertility of the soil. And talk about erosion. Erosion is another factor that can affect the fertility of the soil. And you talk about low level of organic matter. The life of every soil is the presence of organic matter in it. So the level of organic matter in the soil can also affect soil health. Now, when all these factors are put under control, intense management, then we are able to give birth or provide a soil that is healthy or fertile for your crop development. Now, efficient plant cultivation and sustainability is secured with a sufficient replenishment and supply of nutrients to the soil. Production cannot be sustained if there are no techniques to return lost nutrient, like I said before, back to the soil. So efficient plant cultivation must take into consideration the health of the soil and the methods put in place to manage the fertility of the soil. And let me quickly run through some of these methods or ways through which nutrients can be replenished or the fertility or health of the soil can be managed. Again, don't forget I said that the factors that could lead to impacting the soil negatively: soil pH, leaching, burning, soil texture, erosion, low level of organic matter. And some of these factors that we're about to list now have a way of checkmating these negative factors. For example, we could achieve the replenishment of soil nutrient through one, organic manuring. Organic manuring. In our previous broadcast, we talked about how we can introduce some plants into the intercrop some plants with the permanent or the oil palm plantation. We talked about some plants which can serve as cover crops. And I did say that one of the beauty of this is that it helps to add organic matter to the soil. It helps to control the erosion and prevent leaching, and also it can affect the pH of the soil. So the method we can use to replenish the soil in a way of managing the soil fertility, we're talking about organic manuring. And when we talk about organic manure, we are talking about incorporation of decayed plant and animal products into the soil. So when we incorporate decayed plants and animal material into the soil is an organic way of improving on the fertility of the soil. Organic manuring could also be seen as green manure, farmyard manure, compost manure. So in this way, we are adding products or materials from the remains of plants and animals on the feed or on the crops to improve the fertility of that soil. Now, organic manuring improves soil health. Now, one of the ways to know a healthy soil is the activity of microorganisms in the soil, because when you apply anything, fertilizer or organic manure as the case may be, it is the presence of microbes, or what we call microorganisms in the soil, that will bring about their decomposition. One of the very first signs to know a soil that is not healthy is the disappearance of microorganisms in such soil. So, to know a healthy soil, such a soil is occupied by beneficial microorganisms, and these microorganisms can carry out the activities when their food is available. And the food for these microbes are the organic matter. So when the organic matter is present in the soil, microorganisms will be alive to carry out the activity by in attempt of feeding on this organic matter. They decompose this organic matter, and this in turn releases nutrient into the soil. So organic matter will improve soil health because it will improve the prevalence of beneficial microorganisms in the soil that causes decomposition. Because whenever you harvest even your crops, or you prune, for example, the oil palm, you prune the leaves, the branches, and all of those things, the microorganisms will help to decompose these materials into the soil. And that decomposition process helps to replenish the soil. One thing organic matter does is that it acts as what we call buffer. And that means that it helps to checkmate the acidity or alkalinity of the soil. So organic matter have a way of neutralizing the soil, making an acidic soil to be less acidic, a little bit alkaline. Because in our last broadcast, I said that the oil palm, which is one of the best crops chosen to be integrated with the real estate, I said the oil palm has a range of pH, a range of temperature that is needed for it to produce optimally. And we said that the range, generally crops, they do well in a pH range of 6, between 6 and 8. Between 6 and 8, that means slightly acidic and slightly alkaline. So any soil that is highly acidic or highly alkaline cannot be profitable for cultivation. And so the organic manure helps to buffer the soil by reducing the acidity of the soil. It also helps to checkmate soil texture. Organic matter could also help to serve as solution to the problem of erosion or leaching that is common with the sandy soil. So when organic matter, that is decayed plants and animal remain, is added to the soil, decomposed, and help to replenish the lost nutrient in the soil, it also have a way of affecting the texture of the soil. It can improve on the texture of the soil by way of making a sandy soil to be more of loamy soil, thereby reducing leaching and erosion problem. Another way to replenish lost nutrient in the soil is cover cropping. Cover cropping. Planting of certain plants to cover soil surface is what we refer to as cover cropping. So you are planting probably legumes to act as soil cover. This technique or this practice have a way of conserving soil nutrient. Cover crop will prevent erosion. Cover cropping will increase WHC. And what is that? The water holding capacity of soil. Cover cropping will suppress weed, and it will also regulate or prevent leaching. So when cover cropping, the system of cover cropping is introduced into the oil palm cultivation, it has a way of replenishing or conserving soil nutrient. Cover cropping can also regulate temperature and increase soil organic matter. So cover cropping is a helpful way of controlling or managing soil fertility and improving on soil health. Another thing, the third way to replenish lost nutrients or maintain soil fertility or improve soil health is what I refer to as liming. Liming is also a technique. What is liming? Liming is basically adding some chemical substances like wood ash. Obviously some of us must have seen where they do this locally, where wood ash, which is result from the burning of wood. The wood ash is alkaline, and that wood ash is a chemical that actually can be used to reduce soil acidity. It can reduce an acidic soil to a barest minimum. So liming materials could include limestone, it could include this wood ash. And when these materials are added to a soil that is tested and proven to be acidic, it has a way in reducing the acidity of the soil, knowing full well that most crops perform, like I said, most crops perform well between the pH range of 6 to 8. So when it's less than 6, it means the soil is highly acidic. And when it's greater than 8, when the test is carried out, if it's greater than 8, it means the soil is highly alkaline. On both extremes, crops cannot really do or perform well in such cases. And so when the soil becomes highly acidic, liming is one of the methods to reducing the acidity of the soil, to making the soil to be in the range, the pH range, where the crop can thrive or produce better. And liming help to maintain this, improving the fertility of the soil. The number 4 way of replenishing the lost nutrient in the soil is what is very common. Yes, that is the easy way out for most farmers. Is the fourth way of actually maintaining the fertility of the soil to ensure that there is sustainable productivity. Now, again, I want to mention here that the Silvawell Limited put this knowledge into application to ensure that there is a maximum return on every investment on this. Because again, like I said from the onset, that if the fertility of the soil is not sustained, it will impact on productivity. And once productivity begins to decline, then profitability also begin to decline. That is why it is very important to talk about, to know how to replenish soil to ensure that there is sustainability in production. So the common way, which is the fourth way the soil fertility can be managed by most farmers, which I said is the easy way out for most farmers, is what we call inorganic manuring. And this has to do with the use of fertilizer. And this is not an exception when it comes to oil plant or oil crop cultivation. The use of inorganic manuring, use of chemical substance that are added to the soil to improve soil fertility. Now, the use of inorganic manure, what we refer to as fertilizer, is actually the shortest way of replenishing lost nutrients and increasing productivity of crops. It's the shortest way of replenishing lost nutrients. Oil palm plantation fertilizer requirements differ depending on the tree age. It is very worth noting that the application of inorganic manure or fertilizer will depend, the requirement will depend on the age of the oil palm. Now, a complete or compound fertilizer such as a NPK 15-15-15 is actually required to supply the crop, oil palm in this case, with basic elements like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which are required for growth and proper development. These elements are required by the plant for overall growth and also fruit formation. It is interesting to note here that deficiency or even toxicity, excess of this major element can result in wide range of symptoms, including what we will refer to as chlorosis, a condition whereby you see the leaves of your crop turning yellowish in coloration, and even there could also be a distortion of inflorescence sex ratio. That is, it will also impact on the production of your oil palm. Now, basically, whether micro or micronutrients are required by the oil palm for maximum growth and development. Deficiency in micronutrients such as boron can also cause malformation of leaves. It will interest you to know that, like I said before, at Silvawell Limited, this information, this knowledge is put to use to ensure sustainability and continuous yield and profitability. So what are we saying here? That the soil health and soil fertility management is key if there must be continuous or sustainability in production. So we have said here that each harvest of your crop is removing certain amount of nutrient from the soil. So the farmer will have to devise a means to keep replenishing those lost nutrients. And we have said that this can be done by the application of organic manure, the adoption of cover cropping, liming, and the surest way of replenishing lost nutrients, which is the application of fertilizers. When this is done, the fertility of the soil can be guaranteed, and thereby production will be improved upon and profitability will be sure. At this point, I want to appeal again for our viewers out there to please subscribe to get every other information that is needed for the successful cultivation of the oil palm. Till we meet again to discuss other interesting sections and topics that can impact positively on your choice of oil palm cultivation. I say stay blessed. Thank you.